we're going to talk a little bit about debit cards and deposit relationships and how offering BNPL kind of helps engage that. So, welcome, Angel. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thanks so much for having me, Lo. I've been listening to both, Bryce's intro and the ladies on the panel, and I wish there was like some emoji or something and clapping
A
emoji.
reaction.
Yeah, because I'm so excited. It's so rare to see a solution that everybody is. It's a win-win-win all across the board, and it's so exciting to be here. So thank you.
Ah, love that. Yeah, we totally agree. Well, I'd love to just jump right in if that's okay. So I know that when when financial institutions think about buy now, pay later, they really look at it as a loan, right? They think, oh, that's on our books, it's a loan, it's amortized, they're paying interest. But the way consumers view it is more as a payment method or a way to flex their cash flow. We're going to have some visual aids here, Angel. So hopefully that helps out. But would love to hear it from you. Why do you think BNPL is so popular with U.S. consumers today?
Well, it's funny that you use the term flex because as we're starting to talk about this more, we're actually kind of transitioning our terminology when we speak about this type of solution from buy now, pay later. Yeah, that's recognizable, but we want to see it as a flexible payment solution, and I think that just goes along with why we're seeing it take off. Members want that flexibility. I know there's been a variety of pieces here where we've talked about use cases, but whether they need it or they want it, it's there. And I think offering that flexibility to use it now from making payments off of your debit card makes it even more attractive.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think it's always helpful to take a step back. And Bryce actually mentioned this in the keynote. Um, you know, Everyone's using buy now, pay later. I think we kind of get in our heads that, oh, that's just what the young folks are using. And now I feel as a later age millennial, I'm allowed to say that. But it's true that it's truly everyone. So why do we think it's such a ubiquitous payment method to be offering it?
And to your point, right? It is everywhere. I kids going back to school. I'm trying to get haircuts for everybody, and now the salon that we use uses all this online, scheduling and everything. And when I went to go select women's haircuts, not only did I see one buy now, pay later option, I saw three. And
Gosh.
right under the women's haircut, there's the men's haircut, which, if you're a lady getting your haircut these days, it isn't always the cheapest, but
Not the same.
there wasn't the option for the men's haircut. It was kind of funny. Obviously, it was cheaper, but it just right. And it's coincidental that we're talking about this, but literally all three options were presented to me while I was scheduling a haircut. And I think it's just you can't check out online somewhere without seeing an option at the point of purchase, point of sale device. It's everywhere. And I think even if it's out of sheer curiosity, people are going in to see what it's all about.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and so it's not even just necessity where we will see those use cases where folks just need that in order to, kind of smooth out payments that they need to be making, smooth out their debts. But it's also convenience too, right? So it's convenient to when you're shown a purchase that's, larger than maybe you anticipated to have that ability to flex that spending over, 3, 6, 9 months or what have you. Um, why do you think the industry, and when we take a step back and think about the payment space, right? And you and I have been in this space for quite some time, why do you think the industry has turned all the attention on debit card BNPL? I mean, there's headlines that have come out recently where the debit card is the new credit card and smart debit cards. Like the fact that that's even a term today is kind of wild. And I believe Sean actually made the comment that debit card use has surpassed credit card use for the first time. It is, I mean, as long as I can remember. So help me understand why do you think there's this huge pivot towards debit cards?
I think one of the key things is that it's easier for the average consumer to manage, right? It comes, I can pay right out of my checking account. That money is there or it's not there. And when we're partnering that with buy now, pay later, it gives me kind of the best of both worlds where I can pay it over time or in a certain number of payments, but I'm using my checking account and I can budget it a little bit easier. I know on that first slide that you had when we were looking at our own data, and we saw that everybody is using the fintechs, but the fact that they're using their debit cards to pay off those loans, huge numbers, 4 million transactions in a month. That tells me that people are using it, and whenever something is used like that, right? Like I was so excited about, we have clients that are raving fans talking here today, and we have members that are using it in like these huge numbers. Everybody starts to look at things that are just taking off like that. And in the fintech space, there's the couple of big ones, but even the smaller ones, we're finding that our members are using through there as well. And anytime there's something that takes off like that and there's raving fans, everybody wants a piece of it and everybody's wondering, what's going on here? Why is it taking off? I think Imelda mentioned that when they looked at their first week or month and they saw it just go through the roof without even doing any marketing. They're like,
Yeah,
what's happening?
pretty wild. I
Yeah,
know. Well,
yeah.
then there's also the piece where, yes, it's everybody should be offering it. Fintechs are offering it. We know that consumers are using those fintechs, but there's also the element of the competitive threat from third-party fintechs like Affirm and Klarna, who are now issuing debit cards to consumers. Can you talk a little bit about what financial institutions should be thinking about in the face of a threat like that, especially as it pertains to, you know, maintaining that member customer relationship?
Sure. And buy now, pay later, right? That's not the first threat that we've had against financial institutions, but obviously our members are using these solutions, right? 4 million payments in 1 month. We can look at our data and see that members are using this functionality today. And I kind of look at it as every time they use a competing solution, it's a missed opportunity for engagement. There was references to the trusted relationship and being more member and FI centric. That's what one thing I love about the Equipify solution is that it is FI and member centric. We do have the ability to offer credit unions the ability to set the criteria themselves. And I think another big thing with whether it's marketing or more education, if we're not offering this solution to our members directly ourselves, right, and being able to help educate them, we at least need to be doing that anyway. I know folks are, trying to consider should we offer this, should we not? Indira talked about the risk and that hesitation, like, is this really a good thing? Um, we have to at least be educating our members on this and how to use it properly and be financially well. Hopefully, right, with buy now, pay later taking off so much, we know that they're able to use it in the different solutions. They could use different solutions simultaneously, but by offering it through our credit unions, we're able to provide that financial wellness education and use criteria that is the best for our members, not for the fintechs.
Absolutely. I think it's just about, providing your members and customers if you're a bank, of course,
Yeah.
with solutions that meet them where they are while also protecting them and making sure that they, are able to maintain financial wellness, which you kept hitting on the underwriting criteria, allowing the financial institution, who, by the way, know way more about that consumer than Affirm or Klarna or any other third-party fintech could, making sure that they're putting a purchasing power in the hands of that consumer that's safe. so that they can't get, drowning in debt. And you see these headlines like people are using buy now, pay later for burritos. That's not really what's happening. It's just making sure that we can provide a product that, helps them to get through, flex their cash flow, like you mentioned, in a safe way. So I couldn't agree more with that. Now, I mentioned this in the beginning of the session, but what's the long-term impact of smart, third-party BNPL debit cards on the banking relationship? I mean, do you feel like this is a new opportunity for FIs to start thinking about offering this as a competing product? Or do you think it's just a big risk that these third-party fintechs are offering debit cards? Like, what is your take on that, and what do you say to your financial institution partners?
Yeah, I definitely think it's a risk when you see the volume of loan dollars and the payments going back on those loans. It's a huge risk, and I think that it's about balancing the risk of potentially losing that consumer to a fintech, right? If they're offering flexible payments and they're offering debit cards and they get interested in starting to offer other financial services as well, we're at risk of losing that relationship altogether. With balancing the risk of, is this a solution that we want to be able to offer ourselves? Something that sometimes we as a processor forget, right, is the burden on the financial institution to have to manage this. And, Indira's testimonial on, right, a human doesn't even have to touch it. We don't necessarily need a full-time person to have to manage it. Again, it's a unique opportunity to be able to offer something with the guidance, right, and the reporting and the analytics that Equipify provides to be able to track the performance. I know there was an example, I think it was Bryce talked to me about that, turning off this feature, turning off this type of merchant and looking at criteria and adjusting, right? Too many offers. Okay, let's dial it down a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm also just amazed at the frequent comments about not being in default and being able to manage that risk as well. If folks are able to manage their payments and be able to do it the way that they need to do it, I think it also prevents less risk to the financial institution in heading into something like this.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, we are at our time at this point, but gosh, it went way too fast. Angel, I felt like
It did. I'm hanging on to listen now for sure.
oh, absolutely, me too. This was super, super fun. I can't wait to do this with you again, Angel. And so for anybody listening, if you're a Valera customer and you want to reach out to Angel, I'm sure she would welcome that,
Absolutely.
especially with all of the research that she and her team have been doing on, to watch this space. I'm sure she'll have tons of extra valuable information to share. So thank you again, Angel, for all.
Thank you. Thank you.